broadcasting. So I'm going to go over the questions, and you're not really accessible to totally follow along. So I'm going to go over the questions and kind of explain what I had. We'll go from there. So starting at question 3, the true linear regression equation is y equals BO plus B1x, where BO and B1 are unknown. It says, what are the null and alternative hypotheses for B1, meaning the secondary or the reactive term, or the dependent term, is that the right word? So we're looking for the null and alternative hypothesis for the dependent. And so we've got B1 is not equal to 0, B1 is greater than 0, and I'll just say what I think it is. So I think that it is B1 equals 0 would be the null, and the alternative would be B1 does not equal 0. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you hear me at all?
All right. The meeting, it's working.
Seems like you might be back.
Yeah,
so,
I'm back.
Question 4, a residual, and then it gives 4 options of what a residual is. I believe the answer is a residual is the difference between the observed value y and the value predicted by the regression line.
What are the other options?
The other options are a residual is the difference between BO and B1. A residual is a residual depends on the independent variable, or a residual is what is left over after doing simple linear regression.
It's not the last one. Wait, what was the one you said you think it is?
The third one, which is the difference between the observed value y and the value predicted by the regression line.
Okay, no, you're right. Yeah, it's the one, yeah.
Okay, 5 is a plot of residuals supports using linear regression when A, the residuals look normally distributed, B, the residuals are all positive, C, you see a megaphone shape in the residuals, or D, you see a pattern in the residuals. Apparently some vague pattern that's any pattern. I think it's A, the residuals are normally distributed.
That's what I was going to say A.
Okay. The next few are associated to a data poll on mass self-efficacy. For the most part, it's kind of plug into the tool.
Okay.
The first question is, compute the residuals for the data using software. What statement best describes the residuals? We've got A, the residuals are between about -40 and 25. B, the residuals form a linear pattern. Or C, the residuals are all negative. So I believe that it is the -40 and 25.
Okay. So you have to look at the data for that one.
And I am quite confident in my answers. Okay, so question 7. Based on the QQ plot for these residuals, what can you say about the residuals? A, the residuals are clearly not normal. B, the residuals are fairly normal. Or C, the residuals look right skewed. And I believe that they look fairly normal.
That's based on the data too, so yeah, I'm gonna have to trust on that one.
This is the only one I'm slightly less confident in, but I'm pretty confident in this one. So we've got a number of check boxes. So use software to create a scatter plot of the data. Given the scatter plot, residuals plot, and QQ plot, which of the 5 assumptions about linear regression are satisfied by this data? Check all that apply. So the assumptions that we have are there is a linear relationship between x and y. The variance of the error term is constant for all values of x. The residuals are normally distributed. The x values are measured without error. The observations are independent. And I believe it is the first 3. And not the last 2. They are not, the x values are not measured without error, and the observations are not independent. The next one is the estimate for slope, and I had 12.695. The next one is the lower bound. I had 10.674.
Can you write those numbers down? On your phone, just put 12.695.
12.695. That is question 9. It is the estimate for the slope. Question 10. Question 10, the lower bound, I had 10.674. Question 11 is the upper bound. I had 14.715. Question 12, based on the evidence and using level of significance A equals 0.05, what decision would you make regarding the hypothesis test for B1? The options are fail to reject the null hypothesis test because the correlation coefficient R is less than 0.95, reject the null hypothesis test because T equals 12.476, C, reject the null hypothesis test because the p-value is less than A, or D, fail to reject the null hypothesis test because the p-value is greater than A. And I believe that it is reject the third option, reject the null hypothesis test because the p-value is less than A.
Okay, yeah.
Question 13. For a hypothesis test for B1 slope, if you reject the null hypothesis, what does it mean? The options are there is insufficient evidence to conclude that the slope of the regression line is 0. This one's actually kind of slightly confusing. There is sufficient evidence to conclude that the slope of the regression line is 0. There is insufficient evidence to conclude that the slope of the regression line is not 0. And the fourth option is what I believe it is. There is sufficient evidence to conclude that the slope of the regression line is not 0.
Right, yeah. You said there is sufficient evidence to conclude that the slope is not 0, right?
That the regression line is not 0. Yep, the fourth one.
Yeah.
The next one goes back to that crocodile thing that's been in the last few quizzes with the head and the body length. It says, for this data, which variable is the dependent variable? And we are measuring the head to estimate the size of the body length. So it's body length. The next few are numbers again. So question 15, determine the margin of error for the 95% confidence interval. So this is, if I remember correctly, took the upper bound and lower bound and found the difference.
Okay.
And I had 0.443. And 16, what is the lower bound? At 1.218.
0.218.
17, the upper bound, I had 8.103.
Wait, what was the lower bound?
Oh, I had that one wrong. Nope, the lower bound is not that. Dang it. What was the lower bound? I'm looking at the first one I took, not the second one I took. I got that one wrong, actually. So it's not that. I'd have to go input it again. So yeah, don't do 1.218. If I remember correctly, it's like 7 point something something. But we'll have to input that.
Just take
and then the final question is 18. Based on your lower bound and upper bound from the last two problems, what can you say about B1? We are 95% confident the confidence interval will contain the true value of B1. There is a 95% chance the confidence interval will contain the true value of B1, or there is insufficient evidence to reject the null hypothesis. I believe it was the first one, that we are 95% confident that the confidence interval will contain the true value.
Yeah, I always get the statements messed up. I have to talk them through. So that, yeah, I think that's right, because the other one is that there's a 95% chance. And it's not that one, I don't think.
But it will contain the true value.
Okay,
so when you have a safe chance, go and put all of those, and
so there's 19
not just
questions?
input them. Yeah, there's 18. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it when I get to a town big enough I can have data. I'm like in these small towns in southern Utah right now, so there's not a lot of signal right here. So, anyway.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not super helpful on this one. Did you submit it? Or not yet?
I have, yeah.
Okay, but all those were right?
Well, like I said, except for that lower bound one, yeah.
Oh, okay, right, the 7 point something or other. Okay, I'll figure that one out, because I can do it on my phone. I have the spreadsheet, so. Okay, cool.
Number 16. That's the one that I had wrong.
Okay, yeah, I'll just work that. I can work through it. So, very cool. Okay, thank you. And then,
how did here, let me stop this. Let's see here.